absolutely unacceptable that I have to stand up here and talk about 13 and 14-year-olds that we have to arrest again and again because our criminal justice system and our society isn't doing what we need to be doing with these kids. I'm going to give you one example, and you know I can't name names because these are juveniles. There's a 16-year-old in the city. He's been arrested 10 times. His first arrest was in June of 2014 for larceny. That's a theft. His second arrest was in December of 2014 for an attempted robbery. Fast forward to 2017, February of 17, he's in another stolen car. We catch him again. April of 2017, a theft. May of 2017, a theft. The police officers and the detectives on the Baltimore Police Department are identifying and arresting with the help from victims, witnesses, and our community, where we know who these kids are and we're locking them up. The fact that they are out here and doing it again and again and again is indicative of a broken juvenile criminal justice system. And if anyone gets offended by that and they get thin-skinned and they think I'm pointing a finger at them, the first finger I point in the morning when I wake up is in the mirror at myself. And I ask us if we're doing all we can. And as I look at the cops and look at the detectives who are locking up these violent juveniles, they are doing their job. We have to interrupt their violent behavior, and that's not happening, and that is absolutely unacceptable. So this morning, outside of a synagogue in northwest Baltimore, a man dropped his child off at school, was walking back toward his vehicle, I imagine on his way to work or on his way back home, and he was pinned by a suspect vehicle against his car. He started to run away, and they chased him. The suspects chased him, beat him up, took his car keys, and took off in his car. They carjacked him of his vehicle. There's two suspect vehicles involved, a carjacked vehicle that's involved. We still have not yet recovered, and we'll describe those vehicles, give you descriptions in just a minute. While we were canvassing the area for the carjacked vehicle and for the other vehicles involved in the carjacking, our police officers and detectives, along with police officers from Baltimore County, came across a car that matched the description of one of the suspect vehicles involved in the carjacking. There were 4 people in that car, 4 juveniles, one as young as 10 years old, that are now being questioned by Baltimore County detectives. They are not yet under arrest. They have not yet been charged. I don't know definitively if we have linked them yet to this carjacking outside of the synagogue. Those interviews and that interrogation is still underway. The juvenile justice system in Maryland is strictly rehabilitative. The singular goal of the juvenile justice in the state of Maryland, beyond the borders of Baltimore, is to rehabilitate the offender. And I'm all for that if a juvenile is involved in mischief. I'm all for that if a juvenile destroys property, maybe steals a car even, breaks into a vacant building, shoplifts, trespasses, all the things that kids have done for years and years and years. But today's violent juvenile offender is robbing people, assaulting people, and carjacking people. So I think in Annapolis, and I'll be there again, in Annapolis this upcoming legislative session, our lawmakers have to strengthen the consequences and lower the threshold for detention. There's a formula that the Department of Juvenile Services uses when they decide whether to detain a juvenile before a trial, and they call a trial a hearing. So there's a formula. It's a pre-hearing, aka trial, detention formula, and it is a high threshold to meet. So when these kids aren't held pre-hearing, it's because they haven't reached that high threshold that's artificially set by the juvenile justice law.